It looks like Danny Van Ruyen is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tires and get everything just right.
Patience is key in these early moments, Lucy. But I have a feeling Danny Van Ruyen is going to make it count.
The adrenaline is pumping. Richard Reshka is on their out lap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. This is where the mental game comes into play. JP Brand is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run. JP Brand has completed their out lap. This is what it's all about. Danny Van Ruyen is putting everything they've got into this qualifying session. There are just over 10 minutes left in this qualification session. You can feel the tension building. Wihan Visagi is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time.
They will want to get a good gap established for their first flying lap.
Jonathan Visser will be looking to use this first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings.
Yes, they are. It takes a special kind of driver to thrive under this kind of pressure.
Jonathan Visser has just completed that lap in 1:12.980. Their best lap so far is 1:12.980, putting them in P9. Wihan Visagi is on their out lap. That's the out lap done for Wihan Visagi. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. Jonathan Visser has some work to do, as that 112.489 is only good enough for ninth. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Jonathan Geldenhuis is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. It looks like Jamie Nichols is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tires and get everything just right.
This is the moment they've been preparing for. Let's see if they can execute.
SALZBURGRING is on their first flying lap.
It's always impressive to see a driver in the zone like this, Lucy. Let's see if they can maintain this pace.
SALZBURGRING crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. Jamie Nichols is looking for ways to improve their consistency.
They'll need to put together a perfect lap, hitting every apex and pushing the car to the limit without going over it.
There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Jamie Nichols is trying to find that extra performance. Jamie Nichols has some work to do, as that 117.939 is only good enough for ninth.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure they can improve further on that.
Danny Van Ruyen is up minus 0.4. Danny Van Ruyen will be happy having put themselves into second in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. I'm sure they can find a little extra in there.
Jamie Nichols is looking for ways to improve their consistency.
Good question, Lucy. It's all or nothing now. They need to stay focused, hit their marks, and extract every ounce of performance from that car to move up the grid.
Danny Van Ruyen is trying to find that extra performance. Danny Van Ruyen will be happy having put themselves into second in this qualifying session. Donovan Liu is looking for ways to improve their consistency.
Well, Lucy, they'll need to find...
Donovan Liu will be happy having put themselves into fifth in this qualifying session. JP Brand is trying to find that extra performance. The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Wihan Visagi is rising to the occasion. This is where the mental game comes into play. Danny Van Ruyen is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run. Incredible drive by Jacobus Vasson so far, earning them third. The competition is fierce, however, and they will need to quickly find more time to get even closer to the sharp end of the grid.
I couldn't agree more, Lucy. Jacobus Basson has done a fantastic job to claim third. The challenge now is to convert this opportunity into a strong race result.
Impressive work from Mark Guy, who has claimed fourth on the grid. Now, the focus is on maintaining their composure and pushing for an even better starting position.
Absolutely, Lucy. Mark Guy has put in a remarkable effort to secure fourth. The competition is fierce, and they'll need to stay focused to defend their position.
It's an Jamie Nichols has some work to do, as that 125.708 is only good enough for ninth.
There's still more time to be had, but I don't know if they're going to find it before the session is over.
A strong showing from Richard Reshka as they currently sit in 10th. With the session drawing to a close, they'll need to dig deep and find that extra burst of speed to improve.
Spot on.
Richard Reshka has some work to do, as that 111.207 is only good enough for ninth.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure they can improve further on that.
A solid qualifying performance by Danny Van Ruyen, positioning them in second at the moment. The question now is whether they can make further progress and challenge the frontrunners. Ernest Heather has secured a respectable fourth in the qualifying session. This is a great spot to use as a launchpad for a strong race performance.
Absolutely, Lucy. Ernest Heather has shown great potential to secure fourth. It's now a matter of channeling that momentum into a strong performance during the race.
Ernest Heather will be happy having put themselves into fourth in this qualifying session.
Virtual safety cars deployed.
There's a little bit of wind in the air today here at SALZBURGRING, as we're getting ready to kick things off. The second position belongs to Danny Van Ruyen. Jacobus Basson is third.
Big things expected for Jacobus Basson today.
Ernest Heather has qualified fourth. Coming in at fifth, we have Mark Guy. Our sixth place starter, Donovan Liu, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track.
But sometimes the underdog can surprise you. Let's see what they've got in the tank.
The lights are off, the gloves are on, and it's go time.
Staying out of trouble in these early moments is crucial. It's a fine line between pushing hard and staying safe.
JP Brand will be studying the nearby drivers and looking for anything that could give them an advantage.
Virtual safety cars deployed.
This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it. I think passing is going to be difficult today here at SALZBURGRING, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on.
With this motley bunch of drivers, there is bound to be drama. I just hope we don't miss it.
As we watch the drivers fight it out in the first lap, I can already feel that this is going to be an epic race.
It's always intense racing here at SALZBURGRING. Hold on to your hats, folks.
Races are often more about maintaining consistency than having outright pace, but it doesn't hurt to have a little good luck every now and then.
It all comes down to this, Lucy, where the rubber meets the road. There's no more time for talk, no more practice. The teams have done all they can. Now it comes down to Donovan Liu to bring it home.
It would seem Wihan Visagi is starting to get a bit frustrated here at being held up by Donovan Liu.
You're never completely useless. You can always be used as a bad example.
Heartbreak for Wihan Visagi as they slip down the field.
Sucks to be them, Lucy.
Jonathan Visser could be looking for a way up the inside of Richard Rushka. Hold on to your hats, folks. Danny Van Ruyen is right on the heels of JP Brand, and we're in for a wild ride. The pursuit is on. Donovan Liu is closing the gap on Danny Van Ruyen, determined to claim P2. This is what separates the best from the rest. These drivers are demonstrating their racecraft, searching for any weakness to exploit. It's a true test of skill.
You said it, Lucy. The different lines they're taking demonstrate their strategic thinking. It's fascinating to see how they adapt their approaches to gain an advantage.
The pressure is on for JP Brand as they try to catch up to Danny Van Ruyen. Richard Rushka seems to be putting the pressure on Jonathan Geldenhuis. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last. Hold on a second. That won't be ideal for Wihan Visagi. In racing, anything can, and usually does, happen, especially in such an epic showdown. A setback for Danny Van Ruyen, who has just been passed.
That's got to hurt. Danny Van Ruyen will be kicking themselves right now.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Jamie Nichols, who is currently in P7. But Jonathan Geldenhuys is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Jamie Nichols.
That's right, Jamie Nichols in 7th knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Jonathan Geldenhuys is no slouch, and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
The delta between Mark Guy in 11th and Jonathan Visser remains over a second, but Mark Guy is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap. There's 5 minutes left in this session to make that happen.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as Mark Guy tries to reel in Jonathan Visser. But Jonathan Visser is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Mark Guy needs to find a little extra speed to bring the fight to Jonathan Visser and move up the field.
It's a thrilling pursuit as Jonathan Geldenhuys is right behind Wihan Visagi, keeping the pressure on for 5th place. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Jacobus Basson will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. The race is heating up as Jonathan Geldenhuys in 6th closes in on Wihan Visagi. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
Absolutely, Jonathan Geldenhuys in 6th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Danny Van Ruyen trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Ernest Heather. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts.
This is where experience comes into play. Ernest Heather has been in this situation before and knows how to defend for position, but Danny Van Ruyen is hungry for success and won't give up easily.
Jacobus Basson has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Mark Guy. The first expect their only hope at this point is that Mark Guy makes an error. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Ernest Heather is breathing down the neck of Danny Van Ruyen, not giving them any room to relax. Braking alert. I don't think that's the fastest way around SALZBURGRING. It's a battle out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other. Tough break for Wihan Visagi, who has just lost a position.
Yes, but there's still plenty of race left. Wihan Visagi needs to stay calm and focused, and make their move when the time is right.
Oh dear, Wihan Visagi has dropped down to 10th. The tension is building as JP Brand trails behind Donovan Liu. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Donovan Liu is pushing to maintain the lead, while JP Brand is working to close in and challenge for the position.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Donovan Liu is not going to give up the position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with JP Brand in P2 doing everything they can to catch up.
Things don't seem to be going Jamie Nichols' way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. It's a game of inches now as Donovan Liu tails JP Brand closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake.
If things go wrong between Donovan Liu and JP Brand, They could be exchanging more than just paint, like maybe a strongly worded post-race chat.
You know, John, as a former racing driver yourself, can you give us some insights into what goes through a driver's mind during these quieter moments in a race?
Sure, Lucy. During these moments, drivers often take the opportunity to assess their race strategy, monitor their car's performance, and plan their next move. It's all about staying focused and finding the right time to strike.
The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Danny Van Ruyen in third chases after Donovan Liu. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Danny Van Ruyen, braking alert. I don't think that's the fastest way around SALZBURGRING. Well, it doesn't look like Richard Reshka is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Wihan Visagie.
Anything can happen yet, and it usually does. I've certainly seen drivers come back from worse.
And Richard Reshka has just won the place from Wihan Visagie. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Wihan Visagie, who is currently in P9. But Richard Reshka is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Wihan Visagie.
It's going to be tough for Wihan Visagie, as Richard Reshke seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Wihan Visagie pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Jamie Nichols as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time. This is where the race gets really interesting. Wihan Visagie is closing in on Richard Reshka.
The mental game is just as important here. Wihan Visagie must keep their cool while putting pressure on Richard Reshke.
It looks like Jamie Nichols is pushing hard to catch up to Wihan Visagie. That's not a small gap, but Jamie Nichols has what it takes to challenge for the position. An impressive showing from Jamie Nichols, who has gained positions and left Wihan Visagie in the dust. Wihan Visagie has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Jamie Nichols. I expect their only hope at this point is that Jamie Nichols makes an error.
It's not over till the checkered flag drops, though, and it's important they don't lose concentration at this point.
It's looking good for Wihan Visagie, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and Jamie Nichols. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Jamie Nichols will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
Absolutely, Jamie Nichols in 10th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
The leader has done it. What an incredible performance from JP Brand, who was simply untouchable today. This is a race that will go down in the history books. Some might say that second place is the first loser, but Danny Van Ruyen certainly doesn't see it that way. They put in a phenomenal effort and should be proud of their impressive result. Excellent focus from Donovan Liu to secure a fantastic third place on the podium.
Fantastic result.
Braking development. Jacobus Besson is in the pits. Coming in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th we have Ernest Heather, Jonathan Geldenhuys, Mark Guy, and Jacobus Besson. Jonathan Visser and Peter Geldenhuys brings home 11th and 12th. Finishing 8th is Wihan Visagi. 9th and 10th sees Richard Reshka and Jamie Nichols. It's a beautifully calm day here at SALZBURGRING, as we're getting ready to kick things off.
The tension's building now. This is going to be another great race.
In second place, we have Danny Van Ruyen.
Putting the Nissan GT-R Nismo GT 500 into prime position for the race.
We're seeing Donovan Liu in the third spot. Sitting in fourth, it's Ernest Heather. As the drivers prepare to take off, Jonathan Geldenhuis sits in fifth place on the starting grid. The green flag is waving and we're off to the races. Let's see who can get out in front and establish an early lead.
Precision is everything during these initial stages. One wrong move could cost them valuable time or even force them out of the race.
The racing is normally closely fought here at SALZBURGRING. I think we are in for a cracking race. Jamie Nichols must have taken a page out of a superhero's book, because they've just shot off like the Flash.
Now, they just need to maintain that speed and focus.
Maybe Jonathan Geldenhuys hit the snooze button one too many times this morning, already losing places at the start.
Well, it's not the start they wanted, but let's see if Jonathan Geldenhuys can turn things around before it's too late.
The tensions are high, and no one will want to make a crucial mistake on the first lap.
The race isn't won in the first turn, but there have been plenty that have ended their Lucies.
Looks like Peter Geldenhuys is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control.
Wihan Visagi is looking for an opportunity to get round Jonathan Geldenhuys. Jamie Nichols wants to get into Donovan Liu's slipstream.
I might have said this before, but dog, bone, you know the rest.
It's a battle of wills out there, with Wihan Visagi trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Jonathan Geldenhuys. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. Superb driving from Wihan Visagi, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Ernest Heather trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Mark Guy. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as Ernest Heather tries to reel in Mark Guy. But Mark Guy is not making it easy.
Breaking development. Jacobus Basson is in the pits. The race is really heating up. Jamie Nichols is hunting down Jonathan Visser with everything they've got. The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this.
It's a battle for position as Richard Reschke tries to make a move on Jonathan Geldenhuys. This is what racing is all about.
The action is heating up here as Jamie Nichols is in 8th, defending from Wihan Visagi, who is stop the press. I don't think that's the fastest way around SALZBURGRING. No room for error here. Jamie Nichols is breathing down the neck of Jonathan Visser, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move.
Jamie Nichols is so close to Jonathan Visser that if this were a dance floor, they'd be doing the tango.
Wihan Visagi is on a mission, chasing Jamie Nichols, who's desperately stop the press. I don't think that's the fastest way around SALZBURGRING. This is what it's all about, folks. Richard Reschke is in hot pursuit of Jonathan Geldenhuys, who's just trying to stay ahead. A brilliant maneuver from Richard Reschke, who has just moved up the field. The delta between Donovan Liu in 5th and Ernest Heather remains over a second, but Donovan Liu is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap. There's 5 minutes left in this session to make that happen.
This is where experience comes into play. Ernest Heather has been in this situation before and knows how to defend for position, but Donovan Liu is hungry for success and won't give up easily.
but Jonathan Geldenhuys is in control. They're ahead of Wihan Visagi by over a second, and it doesn't look like they're going to be challenged anytime soon. He's pulling away. Jonathan Geldenhuys is increasing the gap to Wihan Visagi. Braking development. That won't be ideal for Donovan Liu. The gap between Jonathan Visser and Jamie Nichols is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Jonathan Visser to even allow Jamie Nichols to get a look in. The action is non-stop as Richard Reshka shadows Jonathan Geldenhuys through every twist and turn, determined to claim 10th.
If Richard Reshke pushes too hard, they might find themselves exploring the scenic route, and nobody's got time for sightseeing during a race.
The gap between Jamie Nichols and Jonathan Visser is razor thin as they vie for 7th in this nail-biting contest.
With the way Jamie Nichols is stalking Jonathan Visser, you'd think they're trying to figure out what they had for breakfast this morning.
It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
You know what they say, keep your friends close, and your racing rivals even closer. Looks like Richard Reshke is taking that advice to heart today.
Big gains for Richard Reshke as they move up the field, leaving Jonathan Geldenhuys behind.
Absolutely, Lucy, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Richard Reshke can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
Jonathan Visser is running 8th. They are trying to catch Jamie Nichols. The tension is building as Jonathan Visser trails behind Jamie Nichols. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Jamie Nichols is pushing to maintain the lead, while Jonathan Visser is working to close in and challenge for the position. The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Ernest Heather in 4th chases after Jacobus Basson. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Ernest Heather needs to find a way to close the gap.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Jacobus Basson is not going to give up the position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Ernest Heather in P4 doing everything they can to catch up.
Things don't seem to be going Jonathan Visser's way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. Hey, John, you've had your fair share of races with little action. How did you handle the situation back in your racing days?
Well, Lucy, patience is key in such scenarios. You need to stay focused and be ready to seize any opportunity that comes your way. It's like a game of chess at 200 miles per hour.
It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Jonathan Visser as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Donovan Liu, who is currently in P6. But Mark Guy is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Donovan Liu. Things are going according to plan for Mark Guy, who is currently 5th. The gap between Mark Guy and Donovan Liu is getting smaller. It's now down to 2.9 seconds. Richard Reschke has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Peter Geldenhuys. I expect their only hope at this point is that Peter Geldenhuys makes an error. Mark Guy is placed 5th at the moment.
Definitely, but they can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers who are gunning for that position, and Mark Guy has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
A tough moment for Mark Guy, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to 6th.
Yes, but they can't give up. There's still plenty of time left in this race, and Mark Guy needs to stay focused and keep pushing.
Braking development. That won't be ideal for Donovan Liu. It's looking good for Jonathan Visser, sitting in 8th. It looks like Richard Reschke is pushing hard to catch up to Jonathan Visser. That's not a small gap, but Richard Reschke has what it takes to challenge for the position. It's all about consistency for Donovan Liu, who is currently 5th. JP Brand is on fire in the last sector. And there it is. JP Brand has completed the race in 1st place, setting a blistering pace that none of the other drivers could match. What a fantastic race from Danny Van Ruyen, who brings it home in 2nd place.
Strong work securing 2nd place. Well done.
Well done to Jacobus Besson for securing 3rd place on the podium. In 4th, 5th, 7th, and 8th, it's Ernest Heather, Donovan Liu, Jamie Nichols, and Peter Geldenhuys. With Mark Guy, Jonathan Visser, Richard Reschke, and Wihan Visagi in 6th, 9th, 10th, and 11th.